here in Columbus, the home values keep continuing to appreciate as well. So that's really what kicked me off to start making these phone calls, because I knew the business isn't just going to come into my lap. It's something where I got to have pretty much the ball in my court, or have something where I can do every day and be in control of my business activities and getting appointments and get in front of people. That's why this was such a huge thing for me to implement.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's me, it's Aaron Wittenstein, and I'd like to welcome you to Vulcan7 Roadmap. This is where we teach you how to take 2, 3, 4, 7,356 listings additional per week. And we actually have a really good guest here today, my guy Wyatt Petty from the wonderful city of Columbus in the wonderful state of Ohio. How you doing, my friend?
Doing great, Aaron. How you doing?
You know what, I gotta say, I'm doing pretty darn good today. So we conversed a little bit before, but before we got started here. So how long you been in business for?
So I got licensed in 2017. I've been in the industry for 6 years now.
And how old were you when you started?
19 years old.
I started at 19 years. I had a lot more hair back then. Okay. Yet, so you're still a bit. What are you, 23 years old right now?
So 25, heading on 26 in February. So it's coming up.
My addition is not working whatsoever. So how's business been? How's business?
I would say it's been great, man. I would say Vulcan7 has been a huge help. I'm definitely excited to talk about a little bit about ROI that I received with some success and calling that I've done.
Got it. So where's your phone calling? Are you expired guy, a FSBO guy, a FRBO? What do you like to call?
I would say I am big on cancels for sell by owners and expired. So those are 3 huge pillars I use when cold calling.
Got it. So if you had to pick one, let's just say FSBOs or expired, which one would you pick?
That is a really great question. I would say I had the most return so far with expireds, so I am sinking a lot of time into expireds.
Got it. And how long have you been prospecting for expires?
Since February last year.
Okay. All right. So you've only been doing it for about a year or so then, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you hit it hard on the first or the second of this year, or how'd that go for you?
So actually I started plugging and chugging on the first of this year, and I'm excited to ride that out.
How many expireds did you get in your market?
Yeah, so this is actually really interesting. So let me count real quick. I made a couple notes down.
Right.
That is 2. Yeah, so I made 3 expireds.
So you got 3 expired appointments on the. Did I catch that right?
3 closings from expireds.
Got it. So from expireds in last year. Okay, got it. Yeah, because we all know. I mean, it kind of it takes time to get stuff up and running, right? And I'm sure you've built like one heck of a pipeline, over the last year or so then. Huh?
That is one awesome thing that you mentioned as well. Yeah, so last year, I realized with these interest rates that we got to be hunters in this business, and Vulcan7 has been a huge help to that. So with that being said, I've got about, I would say 7 to 8 listings coming up this year in the pipeline, and that's from all the hard work I put in through the prior year. So I'm excited to see that come to fruition.
Okay, so let me just make sure that this is clear, all right? Is that the work you do 3, 6, 9, 12 months will position you where you want to be this year. Is that correct?
Oh, absolutely, Aaron. Yeah.
So how many hours a day are you typically call?
I would say anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half a day. My biggest goal is to make 65 to 70 calls a day, 65 minimum.
Got it. And when you hit those numbers, how many leads should you usually get?
Great question. Yeah, I would say from my experience hitting the calls, I would say within a week period, probably about 2 or 3 leads.
So, you figure you get 2 to 3 leads a week. You multiply that by calling 40 weeks out of the year. That's 40 times, let's just say 2.5. That's 100, right? That's 100 quality leads. And It's amazing what happens. You divide that by 10%, because out of that, you should get at least 10%. And that brings you to your 10 going to be taken this year, right?
Yeah.
So do you have a particular strategy that you call, when you call the expired listings?
Yes. At first I did start with scripts, and then it became natural, more calm in the calls, and just kind of reading people and just going off of that conversation and really trying to build rapport with them and showing them that I'm there to help. Not everybody's going to be friendly at first, but to go over those objections and just ask them reasons why. That's been a huge help for me in just pushing.
Let's say over the last few months, okay, other than the holidays, what are the biggest objections that you that you're handling right now?
I would say one of them, first time buy owners, I feel like can have some of the most rejections. But when talking to them, a lot of times it's about the money. And then if you're able to explain to them, you just come in calm, cool, and collect, and you talk to them. And at the end of the day, if things don't make sense to them, it's not going to make sense to everybody. But there's a lot of people that do need help out there and will see your value. I can even piggyback off of expireds too.
So you're splitting it between expireds and for sale by owners within those 2 hours you're making phone calls then, right?
Yes.
So let's look into this for a second. So here's what I see from you in general is you're extremely consistent with what you do. Am I right?
Yes. Every day.
Okay. All right. Excellent. So like, what does your typical day look like?
My typical day looks like basically a day prior, I always build up my checklist for today. As long as I hit my check marks, I'm very satisfied. And, moving forward, that's just the way that my brain works. But every single day I put on my my notes, make 65 phone calls or plus on Vulcan7. I do 3 written hand cards, 3 texts to my past sphere, and then 3 emails as well.
Got it. So pretty much you have a checkbox every night that you do because when we plan tomorrow starting today, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So then walk me through. So you plan the day out in the evening. All right. You wake up, and what does that look like from there?
So essentially when I wake up, 65 phone calls, being the first of these expired people has been huge.
Yeah.
You want to be one of the first people that they're going to talk to, build that relationship with, and be there for them at the time and figure out the reasons, like if it's an expired, kind of pre-look at the listing, see maybe what happened, and then just be like that superhero in a cape for them. And then from there, I like to do my 3 texts to people I've closed with in the past. I like to make 3 phone calls to my sphere, continuing those relationships, and then 3 written hand cards. That's also, or 3 handwritten note cards. That's been a huge help to my business.
So at what point when you started doing this last year, did you decide this is the route I'm going to go? Like, how did that all come about?
So last year with these interest rates getting higher and higher and higher, one of the biggest things was just becoming a hunter in the business. And you got to be out there, and the business isn't going to come into your lap like it was when these interest rates were low. So it for me personally, it's just a very good way to get in front of people, good way to get their information, give them a phone call, and just be there to help them. But also too, it's keeping the ball in my court for my business. So it's been a huge help.
What made you, because I mean, people, they work the database, they work their sphere, and then, stuff comes up. Like, what made you decide I want to call expireds and FSBOs? Yeah.
So like in 2020, these interest rates were lower. So, I mean, I was just so used to people here and there coming my way, excited to buy a house, interest rates are good. And that matters to people a lot. So once these interest rates got higher, it kind of changed, and the media was fooling a lot of people too, saying it's not a good time to buy and all that, and not a good time to sell because these interest rates. But houses were still flying off the shelves at the same time because here in Columbus, the home values keep continuing to appreciate as well. So that's really what kicked me off to start making these phone calls, because I knew the business isn't just going to come into my lap. It's something where I got to have pretty much the ball in my court, or have something where I can do every day and be in control of my business activities and getting appointments and getting in front of people. That's why this was such a huge thing for me to implement.
Got it. Yeah, because I mean, I know Columbus, in general, I mean, that's a solid market up that way, and it's all, it's increasing and increasing and increasing. So, I mean, do you see a lot of people kind of moving that way? Or I mean, what are you seeing in your market right now?
Yeah, so as of right now, I mean, we got lots of development going on here in Columbus. We got the Intel plant that was just broke ground. It's now being built. We got Amazon, we got Facebook. We got Google. So as of last year, the population was 915,000. And by 2050, we're supposed to have 3 times growth. So if you're thinking about it, I mean, the media and everything saying, worried about values going down, a lot of people. But at the same time, the values keep appreciating because it's low housing inventory we currently got. And then with this population increase, I mean, I only see the values continue to go up and up and up, and housing demand to get only stronger.
So, all right. So you seem to know your market numbers pretty well. How do you use that? Like you just like right off the top of the head right there. So how are you using that when you're prospecting?
Oh my gosh, it's been just kind of versing it to people like that and showing them that don't trust the media, trust a agent who's on the field every single day. And then I just pretty much, like I'm telling you, I tell them that at the same time, marry the house, date the rate when the interest rates were up. Luckily, we're supposed to have a little bit better rates this year as well and go down. So I'm super excited about that when talking to people. But just basically how I told you right there, that's how I've been telling my clients.
That's great, because I mean, I assume you get a lot coming out of people like, oh, the market's not good. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing for
Yeah.
sale. The interest rates are low. And then to be able to share that type of, so, all right. So let me ask you this then. How did you, like, do you study the numbers on a daily basis, or like, are you normally a numbers person, or what does that look like?
I'm a very analytical person. So I definitely am a numbers guy. And I think the more knowledge or the more knowledge I have with knowing my market, the more power I'm going to have in talking and educating my clients, my buyers, my sellers, et cetera.
So here's the thing is that, I'm very much into personality profiles and styles and stuff like that. Okay.
Yeah.
And you don't always get a highly analytical person to, it doesn't always, sell real estate, and you're doing very well. So like, and using those numbers to your advantage is a huge thing, because you can relate to more people than I can relate to. Because do you have I think like analyticals are 30 some odd % of the population. I don't know, something like that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And the like a dominant personality like myself is 10% of the market. Okay. So, so for you, using numbers would probably be your superpower, right?
Yeah, I would say 100%. And then for me, the biggest thing, even on listing appointments and stuff like that, it's so important to know your numbers. I mean, just being in this industry alone, knowing how many days on the market, hypothetically, if you price it at a certain price point, I'm almost able to guarantee, if we can come to terms, I can let them know when the home will be sold, and with my game plan and everything else as well. So, I mean, it's been such a huge help.
Yeah. Like I said, when it comes to talking numbers, with me, you're barking up the wrong. It's just not my thing. It's not my thing at all. Which is really interesting.
Oh yeah.
It's to hear you just, those. All right. So let me ask you this then. For those of us that are not highly analytical, numbers driven people, how do you go ahead and find those statistics? Because, I think I know that would be huge for people.
So basically, for my numbers and population, I like to keep, and just like the growth and stuff, I'm a nerd for Google. I love Googling things and looking things up all the time, and just knowing kind of where predictions will go. I mean, even with interest rates and stuff like that as well. So, I mean, even when I'm meeting with sellers, the first thing I do is I'm very thorough with my CMA. So I get 5 comparables plus always. Sometimes you won't be able to get that, but then I just really look at the numbers. And, once I have those averages from the MLS, I'm able to just see kind of what price points homes were selling at, where they priced it at. And then looking at that, essentially, I can know where it's going to be priced hot and how many days on the market.
Got it. And when you're prospecting, how are you utilizing the numbers to your advantage when you're on the phone with somebody?
Days on the market. So when it's expired, days, everything correlates to days on the market, especially here in Columbus. If that home has not sold and maybe it was priced right. So I use a dual monitor when I'm prospecting as well, expires, FSBOs, whatever it is. So the first thing I do is I put it up on my second screen, and then I analyze it real quick as I've got the quick calls going through and stuff like that. I'm like all over the place. But when that's happening, I can see if they got professional marketing, professional photos. I can see how many days on the market. And here, typically, I mean, my average days on the market is about, I would say, 5 or 6 days on the market before we're under contract. And then I can just kind of, I would say, proof it from there and see what went wrong with the listing. But one thing I do know, if it's over, I would say 6 to 7 days on the market, that home was not priced right or was not marketed right.
Interesting. All right. So this is a question I asked every single agent that comes on Roadmap here is, let's say a brand new agent knocks on your door and says, Wyatt, what's one piece of advice? What would that one piece of advice be?
Consistency. Don't stop. Keep going.
That's about as simple as it gets right there, man. That's about as simple as it gets. So, all right, man, I just want to say thank you so much for, I mean, that's it doesn't get any easier than that. Just do your stuff regularly and you're going to be fine, correct?
If you break it down to layman's terms, that's all there is to this business. Yep.
Exactly. So, Wyatt, it was a pleasure having you on here. 2 things. Number one, what's your final words? The last thing you would like to get through everybody's real estate heads, if you will.
I would say believe in yourself, invest in yourself. And like I said, consistency is so huge to this business, and you're not going to see results instantaneously. Some people do. And that's part of the luck in it too. At the same time, we're just, doing what you should be doing. But honestly, for me, it took me about 4 or 5 months to get my first deal. And also too, one thing I'll leave off too is I made 5.8 times ROI just within the first year with the 4 closings I've had using Vulcan7.
That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, it's just you're quoting ROI. I love it. You're so numbers. You know what I mean? Like, I wish I was like that. It's not my thing. All right, my friend. Let's say someone's moving to Columbus or needs a realtor in Columbus. How do they get in touch with you?
Contact me, message me, 614-806-3243. I absolutely love what I do, and I'll give an amazing experience.
Excellent. All right, my friend. Well, thank you very much for coming on here. It was an absolute pleasure, and I wish you nothing but the best. Okay.
Thank you, Aaron. You as well, buddy.
All right, take care, my friend. Be well.